Oh, hello, friends. I don't think there's anybody here yet, but hey, I'm. Got a bit of a cramp. But I just finished filming at that YouTube space thing, and I'm just here, hanging out while my data transfers over to my laptop. It takes a while, so I'm here just kind of passing some time while I, you know, come down from my shoot. I've already cleaned up and everything like that, so I'm just chilling. And Mexi came out. That was fun. She's checking out the YouTube space as well. There's nobody. Nobody is watching. Oh man. What did I do? Oh, there's one person watching now. All right, we're working on it. We're working on it. We're getting there. Oh, okay, now it's all starting to happen. Whoa, what the hell? Hey, friends. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, so just to kind of keep you guys caught up, I'm at the YouTube space. I just finished filming 2 videos, and I'm transferring all of my data over to my laptop right now, and so I'm just kind of hanging out, waiting for data to transfer, and I thought I might as well, still wearing my costume, the old jacket, and hang out with you guys while I wait for everything to happen. How's everything in your life? How's everything going for the 7 of you who are watching right now? Whoa. Much better. Is everyone having a good time? Is everyone enjoying their Tuesday morning? You're bored. God damn, I try so hard. Hello, Waldo. Hey, friends. You just installed AC Odyssey. All right, making dinner. You want to learn about the Toronto elections? Well, okay. There's a couple things you could say about the Toronto elections. They happened yesterday. John Tory, who was the first mayor to take up after Rob Ford, got reelected for another, I think, 4 years. So that's fun. He's like a former progressive conservative, so a center right sort of guy. And another big thing that happened in the Toronto election is that Doug Ford, the premier, passed this questionably constitutional, most people are saying unconstitutional, but he broke the law anyway, this law that would say that the wards were basically cut in half. So all the different wards, the cities, the different boroughs that have their own representatives at the city council, so they cut that in half. And so it was considered, some people were calling it like the Hunger Games election because all of a sudden there were 2 seats that had city councilors that were all of a sudden both incumbents running against each other on top of everybody else who wanted a challenge. So that was difficult. How does it feel knowing you have people watching and respecting you from all over the world? Terrifying. It's fun. I won't lie and say that it isn't like, sometimes it's pretty cool. It's neat to think about, but also to think about that, like, my words have weight, and being a bit of a role model and things like that terrifies me just a tad. Just a tad. I think the only reason that I can keep doing it is because I'm not like fully cognizant. I can't really appreciate how many people 41,000 people are. And I think that the longer I avoid doing that, the better I'll be. Hello, some random geek. So, I am in a very familiar place. For some of you who have been following Step Back for a bit, let's go for a walk. So you can see, I'm kind of in this set, this studio. Woo, studio. And I'm going to take a seat in a place where you'll probably put... Does this ring a bell to you? The seats? Whoa. I found out that they were tearing down the subway set next week, and so I had to film one more time. Where Where do you sit on the political spectrum? Left, center, left? Yo, like super duper 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 left. But yeah, here, take a look. This is the subway set. I have filmed lots of step back videos here, and it's they're tearing down the set in order to turn it into a black box studio where it's just going to be sort of this room that you can set up to be whatever you want. But you know, it was nice to come in back and see this one last time. Let's see if we can go over there. See, that's all the equipment and stuff, like the camera and the tripod and everything like that. Another thing that I did today about me going to the YouTube space is that Mexi is interested in checking out the YouTube space here. And so she came and she paid me a visit, and she was checking out. Tweet YouTube to give Tristan the set. I wouldn't be able. This set is the size of my apartment. I think. I don't think I'd be able to fit it in my place. But yeah, I do think that I'm in. This set is pretty sweet, and it's gonna be sad to see it go. But I love being on a subway. But yeah, to continue the story, Mexi came in, and she's probably going to be filming in the YouTube space at some point in the future too. So I offered to come in and let her or help her set up and everything like that. So it'll be exciting to see it happen. Chaotic good, the anarchists. Yeah, I'd probably say neutral good on my end if I had to choose a D&D alignment. I do sometimes think that if we're gonna, maybe chaotic good. Chaotic good is odd because there's some people who make the argument that like the Punisher is chaotic good because they do quote unquote the right thing, but they will literally break all mores. It depends upon what you mean by laws. Like, if you mean by like the laws of the state, then yeah, no, I would not be a lawful good person. But if you mean by like, I won't like, do the wrong thing to do the right thing, if that makes sense. That's not me. I do believe that I don't think that the ends justifies the means fairly often. We'll put it under your apartment, under the basement. Okay. Would you consider yourself a pacifist? Yes, I do. Do you follow the restrictions of the? Yeah. So like, so Doug Ford did do basically like a kind of gerrymandering in Toronto, but mostly it's because Doug Ford comes from Toronto politics. He used to be a city councillor, and this whole thing is just him screwing over Toronto for his own personal gain. He basically he's taking out his old vendetta against the city or his vendetta about Toronto politics out on the city because he's a sad person. What kind of music do I listen to? I probably don't listen to anything that's considered good anymore. I very much I found myself obsessed with like a Madonna song not too long ago. I mostly just listen to like shit that was popular like when I was in high school. So like lots of like Blink-182 and Green Day and stuff like that. That's a good chunk. Listen to a lot of Iron Maiden. It's good stuff. You are Sonic the Hedgehog chaotic good rather than the Punisher chaotic good. That's a good one to say. How was your weekend? Well, Waldo, my weekend was actually it was fairly lonely because I was coming in to film today, and so I spent my weekend working on my scripts, and Kelly was busy, so I really didn't see her for most of the weekend. Um, Now that weed is legal in Canada, what other drugs should they legalize? Oof. I think that like decriminalizing all drugs would be great. Legalizing and like I don't know, there's once you get away from like cannabis, like all the other drugs can have some serious effects that I would be a little hesitant to like have capitalism get its fingers into. Like there are some drugs, like there are drugs that are like not cannabis and alcohol that I would say that are fine to use if you use them like responsibly, like psilocybin and stuff like that. But psilocybin would probably be the next on my list if I were to choose one. What do you think of Bad Mouse Productions? I think he's okay. I think that his betrayal of anarchism is a little bit sad, but it is what it is. I can't really control him. The videos are okay. When's the next So That Happened podcast? It's in production right now. So That Happened is a podcast that's it was put on hold because of Cody's book. And basically, Cody is in complete control of when So That Happened. How I spend my weekend. On Sunday nights. I always spend my time wondering if Cody's going to call me up and ask to do a show. Hey, LFK from Turkey, congrats. If you take my life, could I take yours too? Your fire must get butter, run you through. Yes, I read the comments. Is sex work decriminalized in Canada? I know it's weird, actually. Sex work is decriminalized in Canada because it was deemed unconstitutional, but like there are laws against certain things. So like sex work isn't necessarily a crime, but like only under but it's not like legalized. And I don't exactly know, like I don't think we have like vice squads and stuff like that try to hunt them down. But it's not like it's not like they're unionized. Like it's still a crime to like have it as a legitimate business. It's not legal, which means that there's a lot of like sketchy massage places and things like that. Let's see. I read you, Elifka. Am I grainy? I mean, I'm on a Wi-Fi network and I'm on my phone, so I don't really know how this is all going to work out. Come to Turkey. I would love to come to Turkey. Istanbul is high on my list of cities that I want to go to. Very high on my list. If anybody asks me, like, what city would you like to travel to, Istanbul is usually number one. Is welfare for everyone a fantasy? No. I think that, once we get once Medicare for all is done, then Social Security for all would probably be the next one on my list. I think it'd be fine. I think it'd be great. Do you have a Step Back History subreddit? Yes, I do. It's not super active though. So I don't really get to do much with it. But I do post videos on there. Have you been to the UK? Yes, I have. In 2007, I went to the UK for about 11 days, mostly in London. I probably would like to go back, but money is money. You and your family are welcome. That'd be great. You can stay in my home. You could stay in my home. You can have my sister. Oh, sorry. That's a reference to a movie. South Africa also legalizes weed for personal consumption, and the growing it from home, the legal amount you can have on you at a time is 3 kilograms. Holy crap. That is... Like for us, the legal amount that you can have on you in public right now is 30 grams, but 3 kilograms, that is so much cannabis. You're a human in 111 BC. Would you rather be a Celtic farmer in Britain or a San hunter-gatherer in Southern Africa? I would probably go with the San people. I think that if you were a hunter-gatherer, you'd probably have a more active and enjoyable lifestyle. Well, what a surprise stream. Which languages can you speak fluently, Joshy? Well, Joshy, I only really can speak English fluently. I can speak French okay. I used to be a lot better. I've kind of slacked because I haven't really gotten a lot of practice. But if I were given a couple weeks to speak French regularly again, I could probably pick it up and be fluent again. I also know a tiny bit or a little bit of Spanish. Mostly my issues have to do with grammar, and yeah, it's all right. My Spanish is okay, and I know like a handful of words in Turkish. I know how to say merhaba and uh, gule gule, and like that's about it. Or hoşçakalın. I know those. I know that those ones. So I know, yeah, merhaba, hoşçakalın, and güle güle, which is like, there's two ways to say goodbye, or two ways to say goodbye in Turkish, and so hoşçakalın and güle güle are different for different contexts. Whether you're the one leaving or they are the one leaving, basically, I think is the answer. Um, I think welfare need a time limit unless you're a vet or disabled or very old because why? Just because you're an animal doctor means you should get unlimited welfare or whatever? I don't know. Honestly, I wish that there were more people who rig the system to be lazy. We have way too many people doing jobs that nobody needs to be doing. And yeah, we have way too many people for way too few jobs. If a few more people were just, not working and on welfare, I think that we'd be better off. Uh, I wish that we could have everybody. In the UK, we have legalized medical cannabis now, but not recreational. You'll get there. What do you think of the Armin Maives tapes? I haven't heard about Arvin Maives in ages. The German cannibal guy. I don't know if has there been a recent development. He was an interesting case because he was the person who killed and ate somebody with their consent, which was like a whole thing. And then he went to prison, but it was a whole thing because Germany technically didn't have laws against cannibalism, which made things difficult. Bonjour, ça va? Ça va bien et toi? Que bien, amigo. Gracias. You have 2 years of Spanish, but you can't conjugate and it's broken. How did you learn Turkish? I was trying to learn. At one point, I was planning on becoming basically an expert on the Middle East, and I studied. I wanted to study Arabic, but I didn't want to learn new alphabet, and so I was like, what other like Middle Eastern, Islamic world languages could I learn? And I was like, Turkish is a good way to start, and so I thought if I'd learned Turkish, and I think I used like um, something like Rosetta Stone or something like that, and I used it for a little bit, but I didn't stick with it. Who'd make a better president, Trump or a random person pulled off the street? Random person from the street. I'm going to eat. See you again, Tristan. Enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you, Waldo. Allora, señor Tristan. Allo, allo, hola, hola. Hola. ¿Qué tal, cabrón? ¿Qué tal, cabrones? So, Aztec and Mayans, which culture do you think is coolest and why? Well, I'm obsessed with the Aztecs. Um, the Aztec culture is the one that I've studied the most, and it's all over the place. I love Aztec culture. Why is because I love the culture has such a unique perspective on life and death um, and on like completely not squeamish about like human sacrifice and uh, acts of like horrific violence. It's really interesting to me that that's a thing that happens, and some people think it's because of the El Nino effect. Um, Khashoggi's body parts been found in the sewer. Not doesn't surprise me. The Saudi Arabia excuses have always been super great or super terrible. Looking forward to tonight's stream. Awesome. Makes me exciting. Vets of war, veterans. Aw, man. What's wrong? Yeah, war veterinarians? Like, what's wrong with that? Uh, Hello, Night Watcher and D-Quack. Um, if you come to Turkey one day, let me know. All right. Do you watch anime? I watch a lot of anime and a lot of it is meh. Yeah, I used to watch anime a lot more when I was like a kid. When I was about maybe 14 or so, I got less interested in it. And then I tried to come back to it again as an adult, and I just can't get into any of them. I tried watching like Death Note, and I couldn't really. It got silly after a while. I tried watching Attack on Titan, and it got really bad after a while, and yeah, I just can't find one that's good, I guess, is my answer to that. We think of the mass immigration debate in the USA, the EU. I think that it is a racist canard, and that really borders are an artificial construct that are meant to lock the capital of the world in a few places. I really think that we need to get rid of borders ASAP. Oh yeah, I know some German. Oh yeah, I know a couple German words because I know like die Frau trinkt Wasser, which means like the woman drinks water. Uh, I know like the word Schifat because now, because remember I had a German friend who was complaining that Schifat had its grammar changed and now you can use three Fs and that's like, he didn't like that. Pero tú sabes eso en pronunciación española de España, qué bueno. Ah, gracias. Sí, yo estudié, yo estudié español con el estilo de España. Uh, pero mi mujer estudia español de México. Es, ahora, oh shit. Okay, I lost it. Um, you rather learn Arabic script than Chinese with, yeah, I really want to learn Arabic script. What are your thoughts on the best gore and uncensorship in general? I don't really look at that part of the internet, and I don't know. I think it's sometimes it satisfies a morbid curiosity, but I don't really know how to feel about that. Could you stream on a time that is more friendly for Europeans? I do stream on Thursdays at around this time, which is like at 5 or 6 for Europeans. That's not bad. Yo tomé 4 años de español y fui un intercambio. Okay. Do you give an independent view? Seems like sometimes your own opinions blends into facts. That there's whatever. Let's not get into that, because like facts are up to interpretation, and interpretation is key, especially in history. Trust me, if I just gave you the facts, you would find my videos very, very boring. You have to do interpretation. How many U.S. states have you visited? Any of them, and why isn't it in Michigan? Actually, Daniel Weed, I have visited 45 of the U.S. states. My parents went on a lot of road trips when I was a kid, so the only states I have not been to are Alaska, Hawaii, Washington, Oregon, and Arkansas. I have been to every other state. And Michigan I go to quite often because my wife's my in-laws live in Indiana. And so anytime we drive or, ride from Indiana to home, we have to go through Michigan. Wouldn't you agree Islam is sexist and homophobic? No more than any other religion, and people manage to follow their religions and not be sexist and homophobic, so, sure, if you want to go by like strict interpretations and stuff, yeah, it'll be sexist and homophobic, but you can totally be a Muslim who is not sexist and not homophobic. But I don't know if you're trying to just like say some sort of dumb white supremacist argument, because Christianity and Buddhism and Hinduism and Shintoism and Confucianism and pretty much every religion ever conceived is pretty much the same in that regard. Do you think that the right-wingers on the Supreme Court actually believe in constitutional originalism? Oh, fuck no. They believe in forcing whatever their opinion is, and if they have to use constitutional originalism, that's what they'll do. You never see them use constitutional originalism to support things they don't agree with. And plus, like, yeah. What do you think about Troll Milo? I don't really think about Milo. I'm hoping that his 15 minutes of fame have passed and we don't have to think about him anymore. Thoughts on people who claim they are sovereign? I think it's silly. If you come to Tajikistan, let me know. Ooh, I would like to go to Tajikistan. That'd be fun. Drink some fermented mare's milk. You have a whole binder of scripts I learned, wrote down the characters' meaning, etc. Okay. How do I go through a 700 book? Because I know that's going crazy due to way too many artifact descriptions. You took 94. How old are you? I am 29. I will be 30 in November. So I have about, it's like the 23rd. So in about 30, 36 days, I'm going to be, no, 34 days, I'm going to be 30. You live in Washington State. It's a beautiful place. There are awesome people as well as terrible people, and they usually mix. Yeah, I've never been to the Pacific Northwest. It's on my list. Ever been on upstate New York, like near Amsterdam, New York, near Albany? Yes, I have been to upstate New York. I live in Toronto, and so very often, if I want to take a cheap flight, we take a bus to Buffalo, and then we fly out from there. So I've been to Buffalo. I've been to Buffalo many, many times. Just a second. I think there's a computer thing I need to do. Sorry, just had to do a quick thing on the laptop. I'm doing this while I wait for my laptop to transfer my files from here over to my external hard drive because it's like you create several hundred gigabytes of files when you do this. Who is your favorite president of any country that has ever existed? Oof, that's a tough question. Try to think of some good presidents of countries. Nope, that's a genocide. So we'll go with Ataturk, but Ataturk was pretty. Ataturk committed genocide. Let's go with Nelson Mandela. Everyone likes Nelson Mandela. Religion is stupid. Religion is here whether you like it or not, and it's not going to go away anytime soon, Girthax. So you really have to, destroying religion is not really a thing that can happen. So you really have to find a way to make it work. Can you make a video about LBJ? Sure, I guess. That'd be fun. How does Canada's healthcare system differ from the UK's? The one thing that's different about Canada's, that's the biggest thing, is that Canada has a constitutional requirement for public health care for all citizens, but it's completely up to the provinces how they run it. One thing about Canada that a lot of people don't know is that Canada is a very decentralized country in that Justin Trudeau in Ottawa really doesn't control all that much when it comes to running day-to-day things in the country. He deals a lot more with foreign policy and the military and things like that. But when it comes to almost everyday thing, the provinces take care of themselves for the most part. And so each province actually has its own healthcare system. So I'm not actually part of the Canadian healthcare service like how the Brits have the NHS, but I'm part of the Ontario health system. That's the biggest difference. Thoughts on the Philadelphia mascot for anarchism? I love Gritty. Gritty is a great mascot for anarchism. There's if you watch my video on the Prussian school system, there is a secret Gritty in there. Thank you, whore. And I'm talking about the person in the chat, I didn't just say a nasty word. Should the Falkland Islands be on the hands of Argentina or the British? I don't know. Who cares? Maybe we should just, not have national property over the Falkland Islands, or let the people of the Falkland Islands decide. That's probably the best answer. Let them vote on it. Is it your studio? No, this is a studio. This is called the YouTube Space. It's a place that Google owns that they let creators on YouTube who have over 10,000 subscribers use. The U.S. Constitution has elastic meaning because you can give it broader meaning. Constitutional originalism is silly. Which of Canada's provinces is the most beautiful? Every time I look at Canadian landscapes, it just looks beautiful. It depends upon what your definition of beauty is. I would probably say that most people would agree that it's probably British Columbia, because British Columbia has all the giant redwoods and the Rocky Mountains and that kind of thing. Can you make a video about Hitler's cocaine addiction? I actually one time thought about that, of making a video about war drugs and about people using drugs in war. I think I pitched on my idea submission site to make to make videos about different types of drugs, and I think that if I made a video about meth, I could definitely talk about that. Falkland Islands, sovereignty, referendum. Is college overrated? No. College is super important to give you not only the piece of paper that you need in order to get good jobs, but also education is really useful for having some time to better yourself. When you are a student in an undergraduate degree, you're going to have more free time to socialize and explore who you are than you would have if you just had a regular job right away. And so really going to college is important for just kind of learning about other people and developing yourself as a personality, exploring parts of your personality, and like when I went to college back in 2010, I was part of the new atheist. I was an Islamophobe. I was probably a little bit sexist, probably a lot of bit sexist, and over my time at there, I learned a lot by talking to people who were different from me, and I think that college really lets you do that. Do you have Jewish descendants? I hear I do because of like a 23andMe DNA testy thing said I had like a point, or like I was like 2% Jewish, but like I don't really care about that. So I'm not like culturally Jewish, and any Jewish relative I had was probably like hundreds of years ago, so it doesn't really matter. What do you think will happen with the U.S. midterms? I think that in the U.S. midterms, the Democrats are going to make some gains, but I don't think they're going to take any of the branches of government. I think if they do, they might get the House, or they might get. They're not going to get the Senate, and they're probably not going to get the huge majority that people think they are. Do you know Karshi? No, I don't. I think the world would be a better place without religion, but I don't think getting rid of it should be a priority. I don't see a way of getting rid of it. It's too important to too many people. Out of 10, how do you think Justin Trudeau has done in office? I put him at about a 2. Justin Trudeau got elected prime minister and then proceeded to do the exact opposite of everything he said he was going to do, and he's been a liberal, so he governs like a right winger and campaigns like a left winger, and I really am sick of that shit. Does Canada have school mascots like in the US? Yes. When I was in high school, I think the mascot was a ram. Considering the majority, kind of looks like you're in a subway car. Yes, this YouTube Space set that they're tearing down next week is designed to look like a TTC car. How cumbersome is it for Canadians to move from province to province? Would you lose health coverage for a time if you move to Winnipeg, etc.? No, you can use other province. You're like if I went to a hospital in Winnipeg, and I showed them my OHIP card, I wouldn't have to pay for my healthcare service at all or anything like that. It would all work itself out. But if I moved to Mississauga to Manitoba, getting my new health card would be probably part of the process. Can you make a video about how Donald Trump and the Bilderberg are half just Masons control, like paranoid conspiracy people? My first video was about that, actually. You should go and watch, Isaac. You should go watch my first video. Is it true that Hitler did cocaine? I thought he didn't drink and didn't smoke and was a vegetarian. Yeah, but one thing that happened back then is that meth got really popular. I don't know about cocaine, but I know that meth and amphetamines were pretty popular, and that in order to avoid sleep, that I think he did use them. How did the public transit experience system in Canada from what you experienced? I mean, compared to the U.S., it's way better. Compared to Europe, it's way worse. So it's like somewhere between Europe and the United States. Better than the U.S., worse than Europe. Renegade slave communities, but I can't think of a specific incident. Yeah. Bacon's Rebellion. No, that's not a slave revolt. College is dope. Thoughts on Elizabeth Warren DNA test? I thought it was silly. I think that her identity as an Indigenous person is ridiculous. Does anyone have any? Oh, yeah, I don't know that answer. Make a video about Zimbabwe. What do you want to know about Zimbabwe? Do you think young conservatives, do you think young conservatives are less homophobic? Maybe. I have no idea. Young conservatives are people who go to college and they do nothing that they need to be doing while they're there. Just take a look. All right, we're getting close to the end. Do you have to cover fees in Canadian hospitals? Here in Norway, whenever we go to a hospital, we have to pay a cover fee of about $20 or $30. Is there some similar thing? I think maybe. I'm not exactly sure on that. I don't think so. I think that when you go to the hospital, the only thing they'll charge you for is medication. And even then, I think if you get it from a hospital, it doesn't cost anything. It's when you go to a pharmacy, it costs money. But also, even if it does cost money, it costs way less money than in America. I don't know how. I imagine that Norway it's completely free. She never claimed to be an indigenous person. Okay. Have you ever traveled to Berlin or Amsterdam? They are a fantastic place to go. No, I've only ever been to, in mainland Europe, I've only been to Paris and Chartres. Um, is college more about learning or self-exploration? Honestly, college it's about both. It's about self-exploration and social development, but it's also about just taking like being able to be intellectually curious and explore things that you're interested in. You get out of like public school and you're in a situation where like in public school, you're forced to take certain classes, you're forced to do this, you're forced to do all that. In college, you're very much open to choose what you get to learn about. And I think that being able to follow that instinct is pretty good. And that's what makes college so interesting. And you learn a lot and you become a much smarter and more curious person. On top of that, you get to socialize with people from all over the place. And I think that you get to enrich your social experience by getting to meet a lot of people. Unless you're a conservative, then you just like, you get mad that people are doing that. You hate that people are. Like, I actually think that the reason why people, when they go to college, become more left-wing is because they become more intelligent and they become more, they spend more time they spend more time with people who are different from them. I think that conservatism in many ways is a sign of a lack of education, or it is a sign of it's a sign of you having a very limited experience, somebody who hasn't really spoken with people who are different from them, and sees people who look or act different from you in only through a othering light. And I think that that's a problem. You pay for your own medication in Norway? That's sad. Is atheism a privilege of the well-off? The worst parts of the world tend to be the most religious. Atheism is a sign of a society that definitely has the wealth in order to spend more time in education. It is one of the things. Religion disappears with education. It's a pretty well-received correlation. You said they were tearing this place down. What would you use it for besides this, if given a chance? Well, like, they're tearing down the set, but they're not tearing down the studio. They're just taking down this subway set, and they're going to replace it with a black, what's called a black set, which is basically a blank set that you can then set up whatever you want in it. Because they have a second studio just over there that is completely is a black set, and people ask for it way more than they ask for this one, and they want to have more openings for people to take. So, assuming you've never seen any of your videos, what's the best video you should watch? What's the best video to watch? I always recommend the first part one of my Columbus series, because my Columbus series was really well received, and it is really good at converting subscribers. So I think that's always a good way to start. Thoughts on Oswald Spengler and his nonlinear view of history? I don't know who that is. Sorry. What is the biggest conspiracy? I don't know. Conservatism is not a lack of education, but an overabundance of propaganda. Nice. My racist reactionary father and sister were very puzzled when I said I wanted to visit family in Mexico. What? Mexico is like one of the most beautiful countries in the world. I would love to live in Mexico. I think Mexico is like an amazing country with an amazing history and some of the most beautiful cultural products ever produced. I think that I just actually in the studio today recorded a video about the Day of the Dead, and I love like the imagery, the color, the music, the food. It's everything. Listening to you wants to make you complete your undergraduate degree. Hey, if you want to do it, do it. Thoughts on Oswald Cobblepot and his views on capitalist development? Well, John Brockman, while Cobblepot has interesting ideas for the city of Gotham, I do think that his whole holding the city. All I can say is that he has not been able to handle the vigilante problem in Gotham, and that it'll ultimately be his downfall. Thoughts on the migrant caravan? It's like a humanitarian crisis, and that the right is treating like it's some sort of like be scared, attack the difference. I have nothing but sympathy for the people in the migrant caravan, and I really wish that that the U.S. would not just be a bunch of racist assholes and would actually let them come to the country and find a safe place, safe harbor for where they're going. Can you make a video on the rebellion against Rhodesia? That'd be fun. Can you make a video about, Emperor Norton the First? Yeah, that's a fun video. That's a fun guy. Would you mind explaining the punitive expedition? I'm not exactly sure what that is. The new Tomb Raider starts in Mexico. That'll be fun. Are you vegan? No, I'm not vegan, but I really should be. If I were a person who lived up to my own set of ethics, I would be vegan, but I am not. Would you ever refuse to associate with someone because they have a job you view as unethical? That's a tough one. I have friends who, I have one really close friend who I think she's a RCMP officer, and we don't talk all the time because she lives out west, but I just try to not think about it, to be honest. Which intellectuals do you follow from Turkey? I don't really follow any intellectuals from Turkey right now. Yep. Mexico City was built on top of the capital of the Aztec Empire, Tenochtitlan. From a socioeconomic problem, I think Cobblepot has failed to address the issues of Gotham social relations as Batman Letariat seek about the Cairo pyramid. Oh, man. Excellent. Thoughts about the border fence? RCMP, it's the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. They're the federal police force. Currently editing a video on prison abolition. What do you think will be the alternative to the prison industrial complex? A positive alternative to the prison industrial complex would be rehabilitative justice, which we don't do enough of. Isn't it weird that the right soap about the right soap on sources but support Israel, the world's largest safe space? Okay. Have you ever thought about making a history of nonviolent protest and how it started in history and how Gandhi and Mandela changed the world for the better? That'd be nice. This ethical jobs question hits real because I'm interviewed for a job as a private collections juvenile agency, or as I call it, a baby jail. That's depressing. It's really hard to be a good person in a capitalist system. Do you read SCP entries, and can you make a video on the SCP Foundation? Why would I make a video on a fictional creepypasta thing? I've read a couple SCPs, but no. Why would I make a video on the SCP Foundation? Mexico City wasn't just built on limestone; it was built on a lake. Tenochtitlan used to be in the center of a lake, and now it's just been completely. Do you eat soy? I mean, sure, soy's fine. Nothing wrong with soy. I can be a total soy boy. Soy. Would Norway's minimum security prison count as restorative rehabilitation? I think that the Norway prison system is pretty good, but I think that instead of putting people in prison, trying to find out what the root of the problem that caused the crime was and trying to fix that problem would be a better answer for me than, say, just trying to punish people for doing the bad thing. I don't know who the Rational National is. We had a series on Ayn Rand. Oh, gosh. No, I have not. Which college did you go? I went to a college called Bishop's University, a tiny one in rural Quebec. Be fun to watch. It's about human psyche. Soy boy, I love soy. What do you think of Paul Joseph Watson? I think he's a hack. I think he's a dumb, fashy British person that just makes YouTube videos getting mad at things that he knows his reactionary audience will like. Paul Joseph Watson would be high on my list of people who would just turn out to be completely cynical and are just saying the things they know people want to hear in order to make money. I also love beer. It seems like the left is all in agreement that environmental destruction and ecocide is the biggest problem facing us today. Where do we stand in agreements and disagreement with ANPRIMs? ANPRIMs, what I don't like about them is their whole wanting to basically let people with disabilities die. Like, I think it's the lack of caring about people with disabilities is the issue that people have with ANPRIMs. I don't think a lot, and also I think a lot of anarchists are very pro-technology and trying to advance humanity and not go back to a hunter-gatherer lifestyle. Can you start a new show about a review of history books or alternate history fictional books? That'd be tough. Bohemian Grove. I don't really know much about Bohemian Grove. I don't know too much about the Scandinavian fine system either. Soy boy. I love soy. Soy so good. Your take on Woodrow Wilson and the New South revisionism? It was bad. I do not like Woodrow Wilson. Can you do your Paul Joseph Watson impression? Oh gosh, imagine my shock. No, I can't do it. I'm so bad at impersonations. I did an impersonation of Thought Slime in my last video, and it was so bad that it got him offended. And I haven't really watched a ton of Paul Joseph Watson in order to do the impersonation. I just say nasty things in a British accent, and that's pretty much all I would do. He does like lean into the camera and he's like, disgusting. Imagine my shock. Like, that's like this kind of like very condescending. He's got that like that northern British accent, and yeah. Do you think the term fascism is overused in describing the right wing? I think people are getting desensitized to these words. I think that we're not doing enough. I don't think we're calling enough people fascists. I think that there's a lot of people who think they're not fascists but have completely fascistic tendencies and need to be called out for what they are. I think that we need to be attacking the right in general because it is a trend towards fascism. We learn this, and yet we keep thinking that they have valid opinions. And I don't think right-wing people have valid opinions. I think that they are wrong. I think that we have seen where the right leads. It leads to genocide, and I would like to stop doing that. And so, yeah, if I think that we should be calling more people fascists, not less. Because I think to not call the right fascists is to give them a sense of legitimacy and give them more of a pass than they deserve. There's evidence to support ancient humans caring for the disabled for their whole. It's not. Yeah, that part is wrong. But also, without modern society, a lot of people who have disabilities would not have the support systems that would make their lives a lot better. And so, I would definitely. You do a really awesome Hank Hill impression. Whoa! Propane, etc. A, per, a person living your ideal communist society. What happens to me if I murder somebody? Oh boy, that's a difficult question. Um, I imagine you'd be tried to figure out why you murdered somebody. I don't imagine there's a legitimate way to the legitimate reason to murder somebody unless it's like self-defense or something. And I imagine if you're found to be guilty of it, you'd be probably assessed for mental illness. I imagine if you just committed murder for literally no reason, that you have some sort of severe mental illness, and you'd probably be put into something that would help you with therapy and to try to put you into a context in which you are monitored but not imprisoned, and you would be given regular therapy and trying to work out whatever sort of psychological disorder led to it. Um, could you give your email? Tristan at stepbackhistory.com. That's an email. Um, Try the lobster wine. What's the difference between a fascist and a regular conservative, i.e., like Cody? Uh, the race, the explicit racism, I think, is the big one. Cody, like conservatives like Cody, have hold like, they hold racist opinions, but they don't realize that they are until like, but like fascists know that it's about race, and then they like explicitly, they explicitly talk about it. What do you like about the moderate right? Literally nothing. Um, what are your thoughts on Stefan Molyneux? He's a quack. He has like a weird cult. Like the weird thing about him is like, doesn't he like actually doesn't like doesn't Stefan Molyneux like encourage people to like disconnect from family members and things like that? That's fucked up. Um, what's your last name? I feel like I shouldn't say my last name. Although I have in a video before, so I guess it doesn't matter. My last name's Johnson. Um, yeah, the Trey the Explainer video on ancient humans and disabilities is pretty good. Um, no, Cody is not Emperor Alexander. Cody is explicitly not a fan of Donald Trump. Um, if I remember correctly, he liked in the Republican primaries, he was like a fan of John Kasich. He's like a moderate. He's like an Ohio guy. What is a skill you wish you had? What is a skill you wish you had, but will never actually put in the work to attain? In my mind, probably like playing the piano or the guitar, or learning how to write software. Those are like the three skills that I would really love to have, but I know that they're both going to take a lot of work that I really don't have the time to put in. Baldies with classes unite. Oh yeah, yeah, it's happening. Um, is anarchism not a different word for nihilism? No, it's a whole thing. I'm sure there's some people in the chat who will be able to tell you about it. Um, did you happen to see any of Politicon? No, I don't really follow those things. What do you think of the Jordan Peterson cult? It's a cult. It's creepy. Uh, I think that Jordan Peterson is a hack, and I think it's becoming more and more true every day now that a lot of people are starting to realize that when Jordan Peterson thinks that like the breeding snakes ancient symbol for like doctors and things like that is a sign of DNA, um, is like that's a thing. You know, like Jordan Peterson is already kind of exposing himself to be a little bit of a kook, and I think that again, like Milo Yiannopoulos, I think that his 15 minutes are almost over, and I think that uh, this time in like 10 years, no one's going to remember who Jordan Peterson was. Why do so many social democrats identify as liberals? Because American political discourse is completely messed up. Um, Jordan Peterson woke up one day and, faced with his own mediocrity, decided the entire world was wrong, not him. Yeah. Um, Your uni invited Lobster Dad to the union. Oh, geez. Why has it been a while since you filmed at the YouTube space? Basically because they started getting really booked and it was impossible for me to get a spot. And then when I could get a spot, I would get like 1 day's warning. And so I was like, I can't write a script in 1 day and get it out. And so I just kind of, or especially because I'd like to come in here and film 5 videos if I could. And so really, I just couldn't do it anymore. So I just gave up on it. And then I checked again randomly the other day, and there was a spot available. When Sargon said he was a liberal, I'm assuming he meant classical liberal. That's what he means, but it's pretty true to. He's like he has a lot of neo-Nazi tendencies, and I think that if you were to identify his ideology based on the things that he believes in and not the things that he says he is, then he would be a neo-Nazi. Is it bad praxis to feel sorry for incels? No, it's just bad praxis to make your feeling sorry for incels to translate into having sympathy with their ideology. You can have sympathy for anybody who's in a bad situation, and incels typically do come from a place of profound, like mental illness and depression and toxic masculinity. They blame the completely wrong people for their problems, but yeah. Where is the place of disabled people in the anarchist society? Wherever they want to be. Um, whew. Incels, the problem with incels is that they have all these problems that come about because of toxic masculinity and a hyper capitalist culture that basically left them behind to dry. But for some reason, instead of becoming feminists to, unpack the issues with gender and masculinity and the issues that are fraught with gender and the world of dating, they instead decided to go down a route of becoming hyper misogynistic, like typically taking on fascist ideas. And it's like, yeah, that's not, oh. They have, yeah, incels they have a distorted view of the world, but unfortunately they have an online community that sort of validates it, and I think that that's a problem. Big Seltzer. Have you ever watched the movie Operation Finale? No, I have not. Thoughts on Natalie Wynn ContraPoints? Natalie I consider her a acquaintance of mine, friend of mine. We what's it called? We've hung out on 1 or 2 occasions. I see her usually I saw her at both times I went to VidCon and hung out for a bit. She's a bit too famous for me now because she's got so many fans that she wants to give time to. So, but she's great. She's a good person. Did you hear that Swaziland changed its name to Eswatini? Yes, I have heard that. Are you hungry? Yeah, a little bit. It's well past lunchtime, and I'm still here, which makes me a little sad. Thoughts on the game BioShock? I haven't played it very much of it. I have it. I have to now that I have that USB controller, I could probably go through it. But it seems like it's a good critique of objectivist ideology. Maybe a dumb question, but what is an incel? It's a online community of people who, because they have some sort of either depression or psychological disorders, or just because they've had bad luck in dating, have assumed that they are involuntarily celibate and have. It started off as a support group in the late 90s, but has now turned into basically a hate group based on hating women. Yeah, I think that incels, like the problems that incels have, if they were to just be open about it and not double down on the toxic masculinity aspect of it, they would they would find a lot of sympathy and they would find a lot of empathy in like feminist circles. But instead, they go down the dark route. Thoughts on Sam Harris? Sam Harris is a racist person who has advocated for basically dropping nuclear bombs on the Middle East, and I would not like that. He's super Islamophobic. Apparently, Khashoggi's body was found. Yeah, I did hear that. It seems like it's a big deal. Um, oh, geez. Do you like the Halloween franchise? I don't think I've seen a Halloween film. See you later, Elif. Does ContraPoints refer to people to use female pronouns all the time? Yeah. ContraPoints is fully a woman who prefers she, her pronouns. Thoughts on the Oregon Trail? I never played it. Opinion on Botko? I made a video about him. Did you happen to see any of the most recent Politicon debates? I haven't. I don't like. I didn't follow Politicon. Why haven't Cody and Tigerstar discuss history and politics on your channel? And have you ever had the So That Happened podcast on your channel? No, I haven't had it on my channel. It's always on the Alternate History Hub channel because that's where most of the people are. But, see where it goes. Orange Band bad. Goulet Goulet. Yeah. Did you see Charlie Kirk's meltdown talking with the dude from the Young Turks? No, but that sounds very fun. What do you mean when you want Amazon to be nationalized? What exactly does nationalization entail? Who'd run it in charge of a nationalized Amazon? Batko's a YouTuber. I don't know the YouTuber. You didn't play Oregon Trail? No, they weren't on my computers when I was a kid. Nationalized. Oh yeah. So to answer the thing about it was just a joke about how capitalism is moving to late capitalism is moving towards these massive monopolies, and there's these massive corporations that own huge chunks of the economy, and I think I made that comment in reference to, I think it was a quote by Amber Ali Frost on Chapo Trap House, where she just said, you realize we could create they've done the monopoly that's being created in late capitalism makes the job really easy for Marxists, because you would just need to nationalize, which would mean having the government take over 3 companies, and you would have a communist society. And one of the ones she basically said was if you nationalized Amazon, you basically have a communist country, because so much of the economy runs through Amazon. Hence why he's got hence why it's $1 trillion company. Thoughts on Mr. Dapperton? I don't really know. I don't know anything about Mr. Dapperton. Isn't he like an ANCAP or something? That's all I know. And that he sucks. That's all I know. Those are the 2 things I know. How do you find the Soviet Union? State capitalism. Secular talk seems to be the most political. Okay. Will you ever collaborate with history buffs or Crash Course History? I've tried to convince the Crash Course. I had a conversation with Stan Muller from Crash Course over at VidCon this year, and I tried to pitch a Crash Course Canadian history, but they weren't having it. They're basically focused on the American curriculum. So I'm going to try to pitch a similar series maybe in the future, because there's this grant that's coming out for educational YouTubers that I'm going to try to see if I can do a small series on Canadian history and then extrapolate that into a full Canadian history series, maybe with some money from the Canadian Arts Council or something. Maybe the Film Board of Canada, after funding that spider drugs video. Do you think Canada should become a republic, as in fully getting rid of the Queen? Sure. It doesn't really matter that much in my mind. I don't see what point having a president would really have for us. Is state capitalism preferable to private capitalism? Yes, as long as the state is democratic, because if you think about it, they're both organizations that control parts of your lives. Private corporations are basically mini fiefdom dictatorships run by a powerful CEO, while at least a government is at least partially democratic. So it'd be better to have state capitalism. He's a YouTuber who wears a suit. Doesn't he wear like a weird paintball mask or something that's painted like an ANCAP flag? Um, Look behind me. What's behind me? Spider Drugs video. Oh yeah, please do Canadian history series. Communist state capitalism compared to fascist corporatism. Yeah. Oh, let's see how long we have left. My throat's starting to get burned out. Whoa. Accidentally unplugged my computer. 77% complete. Just 32 gigabytes left. All right, all right. Sorry about that. I just had to plug in my desktop again. 1 second. Oh my. If I die, know I died doing what I love. All right. There we go. Yeah, looks good. Sorry about that, everybody. I accidentally like bent the tongs on the what's it called? The AC plug on my laptop, and it was beeping because it was constantly connecting and disconnecting. Thoughts on Rage Against the Machine? There's some pretty good songs. The state has a huge defect. It's potentially democratic. Chomsky. Listen, I think you're referring to Chomsky, but also I know that you're a dog, so I know that typing on a keyboard must be difficult for you. What year will the global economy completely collapse? I don't know. That's a huge ask. I don't know what chances we have of that happening. I think that it's sooner than we think because things seem to be falling apart at a precipitous rate. Let's see. Do you like hardcore punk? Do you like the Dead Kennedys? I do like the Dead Kennedys. I do like at least what's it called? Holiday in Cambodia and Kill the Poor, I think, are some pretty good songs. Why do you think right-wing politics seem to be on the rise all over the world with differing levels of development and different cultural histories? This is not just an American, Western Europe crisis. Yeah, it's a crisis of capitalism. Capitalism is collapsing, and the last stage of capitalism is fascism, and so yeah, that's where it's going. Because when you have nothing left when the state has nothing left to offer you, then they'll just make you cling to race and nationalism. Is there a place for the private citizen to own firearms in the ideal communist utopia? I mean, I suppose. I'm not sure. Do you think the Taliban will take over the whole of Afghanistan considering recent events? That's a good question. Do you think lefty YouTube will fall into obscurity like atheist YouTube did? How and why do we avoid that fate? Well, if left-wing YouTube... I think that what made the atheist YouTube fall apart is that it was so focused on owning people and taking people down. Like, the atheist YouTubers were so focused on, ripping on people like Venom Fang X or Jesus Freak. They were so obsessed with just, ripping on those people that once those people left YouTube, they basically had nobody to respond to anymore, and they just started doing just became misogynists. I would think that if LeftyTube is to survive, they would have to move away from the video responses, and I think that LeftyTube, by and large, doesn't do video responses as much as they did in the past because YouTube's changed quite a bit since then. So it's probably got, it's got more legs. And LeftyTube is pretty chill. I noticed that Peter Coffin was in here and noticed that Thought Slime's in here. Hello, Mr. Slime. Getting close to the end here. It's been like an hour and 10 minutes. It takes that long for data to transfer. I'm transferring hundreds of gigabytes of files over, and my laptop is very slow. That's Dr. Slime. Dr. Slime would be a great name for like a Marvel villain, I think. Oh no, it's Dr. Slime! And he like, throws slimes at people or something. I don't know. Oh boy. This is a cool audience. I hope that's not sarcastic. You guys are rad. Dr. Slime is a Nintendo character, hero or villain, either would work. It's true. Dr. Slime just works. I don't know. I feel like, all right, Thought Slime. Since you're in the chat, we have an idea here, I think. And that is, if you ever need to play a caricature of like a bad person on the internet, not so much like a racist or a fascist, but maybe like a doofus, a different type of doofus. Maybe you can like Natalie start making characters, and one of the characters can be the supervillain Dr. Slime. I think that would be super cool, and everybody would love it. And I would love to see what sort of costume you put together for your alter ego of the evil Dr. Slime. I imagine there will be goggles and like maybe a lab coat or something. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but it'd be great to see a mad scientist character like that. Oh boy. There are 46 of you in here watching me. Hello, friends. I'm going to do another stream later tonight, too, at 7 o'clock Eastern, so stay frosty. But I'm still here. It's still transferring. Have you ever thought about growing your hair out? Yes, I have. I've wanted to like my whole life, but I always chicken out because my hair is really, really curly and really, really thick. So when it grows out, I look like Hurley, and I don't really want to have like big, long, curly hair, unless I feel like I'm going to be fronting the band Coheed and Cambria or something. Just dress like normal, but have a default persona, have a propeller beanie. I love it. Don't forget a pink wig. Yeah. Dr. Slime will definitely spawn its own cinematic universe and multi-billion dollars profit to fund the socialization of the economy. There you go. See? We're already at work. See, everything is working out fine for you folks. All right. Oh, throat's getting sore. I wish I had water. Is Alternate History Hub the most subscribed history channel? I think it is. How do you dispel the idea that the USSR and China are communist in the face of years of propaganda from within those countries and from others claiming communism rather than state capitalism? Oh, that's a long process. I think that most people have pretty much, nobody really thinks that China is communist. So really it's about trying to convince people that the USSR wasn't really communist, which might be a bit harder. What would your response be to people who don't want race mixing, not necessarily because of supremacy, but because they believe already? Oh, come on, Jay. That's not a good take. Come on. Bad take. Bad take. Bad. Curly hair is a good look. Hell of a job to maintain, though. Yeah, if I grew my hair out a lot, I would look very much like whatever his name is, the singer for Coheed and Cambria. And while that's a cool look, I don't think it's my look, and it would take a lot of maintenance, which is not something I'm looking forward to. Do you think there's a potential for another Red Scare in the U.S.? Maybe, but it would need to. I think that the terrorist scare in the U.S. is pretty much the version of that. There would need to be another like big rival that they would need to be afraid of. If there was a big communist revolution or something somewhere, like if all of a sudden, oh no, like the United Kingdom went communist or India went communist or something, there might be another Red Scare. Thoughts on having a revolution? Depends upon the kind of revolution. If it was like a, let's go and murder the president type revolution, that would probably end in chaos and with a new president who is super authoritarian and violent, because those are the only people who really survive those kinds of periods of time. Do you think there's a possibility to have a new economical or political system that didn't based on old systems, and you think that will happen in the left, on the right, first, or neither? I have no idea. Why do you keep saying hunter-gatherer societies were anarchist? Didn't they have chiefs? Not really, no. Before farming, there really wasn't a ton of foraging societies. Typically, didn't have. Also, that's not exactly like chiefs aren't like dictators who rule over their society. They're just usually uh, they're spiritual leaders and people who like people who like their job is like officiating and ceremonies and things like that. Like for the most part, things were organized pretty basically without much need to worry about it. A foraging society would probably a foraging society like doesn't have to worry about most things. I think one thing that people get wrong with USSR is how bad it was. People assume, oh, Stalin killed a bajillion people not because of evidence, but because of decades of propaganda. I mean, Stalin did kill a lot of people, but also the Soviet Union didn't just like end when Stalin died. Like the Soviet Union existed for many years, like 73 years or something like that, and like good chunk of that was not under Stalin, and yeah. The last good book you read? I think Command and Control by Eric Schlosser. That's a really good book. Isn't it impossible to know for sure who made decisions for forging the societies? No, I mean, like some still exist today, and many of them have a pretty non-hierarchical construction. Um, will you make a video about hunter-gatherer societies? I don't know. Maybe. If I ever get in the mood to make one, and I think there's a really interesting story in there, then maybe I'll do it. Once November starts, I'm going to be making fewer like proper step back videos, and so the topics I cover are probably going to have to be a lot higher quality and higher like much more passionate than they used to be. Can you make history book reviews or fictional book reviews? I don't know if I would be very good at making book reviews, but if you want to check out like political book reviews, like Radical Reviewer there, who's a dog that reviews books, you'd probably have a good one. Have you read Gramsci? Oh man. Um, do you think the hammer and sickle is a good symbol, or has it been forever tainted by the Cold War? I think it's been tainted quite a little bit, yeah. Um, what's your favorite historical empire? Mine is the Romans. Mine is probably the Aztecs. Step back prehistory. I like that. Um, you people are so fun. Um, yeah, I think that the other side of I would love to see a World War One series on your channel November 11th. I actually, this will make you guys very sad, but I had an Armistice Day video that I was going to make and record today, but it wound up not happening. Um, I ended up not liking it. I was doing the research and I was just like, there's not really a good story here. The Germans tried, or what's it called? The Germans thought that they could win the war, so they overextended and then they got pushed back and then they lost. Like, there's not, because I wanted to talk about Armistice Day, to talk about its importance, about how the end of the First World War, the end of violence, and how ending a war and coming to peace is a way more noble and a thing that we should study way more than, like, military strategy and things like that. Like, my favorite World War One story is the Christmas truce, and that's been told a million times now. Have you read how nonviolence protects the state? I don't know. Have you read about how violence just creates a new state that is just as violent? Like, I don't know. I don't see. I think that the nonviolence protects the state thing is, again, it's another situation where it's people who are giving into their violent urges and not really thinking through what impact they're going to have with the things they say. Hardcore History's World War One series is pretty good. But yeah, the Christmas truce is like, I was thinking maybe I should make a Christmas truce video. Who knows? I feel like I would have to throw it together in about 3 weeks, which, I mean, I could do, but I'm wondering how good it would be. Especially because World War One history has been so done on YouTube. Favorite bread of Doug? Well, rye collie, I guess I'll say. That's my favorite bread of Doug. What would I even talk about in a World War II series? Punching Nazis, yay or nay? Yay, but feeling bad about it is my answer. Thoughts on Sinterklaas? Interesting, is an interesting, like, Dutch thing. I think that, and this is going to get any Benelux people really, like, get their knickers in a twist. I think that Zwarte Piet is racist and needs to be stopped. And I know that, like, anytime I say that, Dutch people have, like, a fucking meltdown about Black Peter, Sinterklaas's slave, that but they're always like, no, it's not racist for some reason. Reasons that we can't give, that somehow this person in blackface is not racist. Whatever. Have you done a video on the history of Santa Claus? Yes, it was made in 2015. Go watch my video called "Is Christmas Christian, or is Christmas really Christian?" or something like that. I did a video like that in 2015, and that we talk about that. Since you're getting into longer videos, I have to ask: would you ever make the whole plate, but on historical schools of thought, using cool historical events? Ooh, that actually would be pretty fun. That's actually a really good idea. You know what? I might look into that. I'll have to talk to. I actually know Lindsay Ellis a little bit, but she's hard to get a hold of. So maybe I'll next time I see her, I'll bring it up and I'll talk to her about how she did it and get some advice. Suppose the extra history guy asked you what he should do to make things right. What would you say? The extra history guy, I would probably say don't be an abusive boyfriend. Don't be a verbally abusive boyfriend. Once you stop being a verbally abusive boyfriend, then yeah, your series is okay. But yeah, don't be a terrible person, James Portnoy. Maybe you should admit that you were verbally and emotionally abusive towards your ex-girlfriend. Thank you, Tim. All right. Keep looking to see if the files have copied over yet. It's been almost 90 minutes. Holy crap. Favorite drunk or high food? Oh, geez. Probably patin. I love a good patin when I'm drunk or high. Which I know is like only a thing in Canada, but yeah, it's good shit. A book you might like: History Lessons: How Textbooks from the World Portray U.S. History. It's a U.S. history book made from sections of history texts around the world. That's pretty cool. I would read that book. That'd be pretty fun. I think that would be a good video. Or not video, book. That's the thing I'm looking for. My brain is starting to get like melting. Did you get your first legal weed? No. It's being what's it called? There's so many people who have purchased it that it's getting like really they're really backed up, so it hasn't even shipped yet, I don't think. Should be arriving probably the next 2 or 3 days. Hey, Jenga Tree. Are you acquaintances with Three Arrows at all? I know he lives in Germany and whatnot. Acquaintances, yes. I've had a bit of a back and forth with him. We've talked a little bit in Twitter DMs, and because I tried to get him to come on. First of all, him and Emperor Tiger Star were trying to get me to join them for a game of Hearts of Iron that I couldn't make because I was busy, and so they played on their own. So I was supposed to be in that game, I guess. But also, Three Arrows and I tried to get him on a stream, and he basically said no, he doesn't do streams. So, will you smoke up on a live stream with Cody and Tiger Star? That'd be fun. I don't know. It might get me in trouble because YouTube still doesn't act like cannabis is legal in Canada yet. I can't remember what kind I even ordered anymore. Conflict diamonds, that could be fun. How about instead of a video on a war in history, you would do one on times when a war could have been occurred or was prevented? Ooh. Yeah. I'm trying to think of a good one for that. Oh, man. I'd have to think that one through, I think. It might take me a bit. We're almost there. It's so close. It's so close. Oh boy. See you later, Radical Reviewer. High Times in the So That Happened podcast. What is the history YouTuber tier list? Oh geez, I don't even know about that. I feel like anything I say will get me in trouble with people who I respect and admire, so I don't want to do that. What type of alternate history would you like to see, given the right-leaning nature of many timelines? I'd love to see a leftist perspective. Well, I'm going to be doing alternate histories tonight, so if you tune in at 7 p.m. Eastern, you'll see a few of them. You can also watch the last time I did it, which was 3 weeks ago or so. My favorite alternate histories that I think we talked about are ones where times when a major thing went wrong in our timeline and being like, well, how could like I think one of the ones we talked about is like if Lincoln had not been assassinated and like radical reconstruction actually was able to go through, what would that look like? I thought that was really interesting. Hope your computer crashes now, so you have to be here for another 3 hours. That would be so. My throat is already starting to like wear out. So like would you ever make a video responding to comments? That would, I don't know, maybe that feels more like a stream type thing. What would you describe yourself politically? I consider myself an anarchist. On the left wing of the anarchist spectrum. Yeah. The libertarian socialist or the anarcho-communist-y part of the political spectrum. Anytime I take that political compass test, I'm in the bottom left-hand corner. Or I remember I found I had an ideology that I put in my Twitter profile a long time ago, which was from a random ideology generator, and I put it as in my Twitter profile. And anytime somebody wanted to get mad at me, they would bring this up, and people would ask me what it was, and it was just the most funny thing ever. And it was called like progressive techno-Marxist, and I thought it was the best thing ever. The most left-leaning timeline alt history I have read is Kim Stanley Harrison, A Year of Rice and Salt. Oh, I think I have heard of The Year of Rice and Salt. That's like anarcho-pacifist is a good one too. Isn't Year of Rice and Salt one where like the Black Death wipes out all of Europe? and like the Chinese basically run the world or something like that. I have been an anarcho-communist since 2009 when I must have been like 20 or 21, and that's when I remember I think it was like fall, so September, so I would have been 20. So it's been 9 years, almost 10 years. We make a video about Spartacus. I don't know. I mean, I would, but oh, we are done. All right, friends. I want to go destroy some food and go home and start editing this footage. So you guys have been great. Thank you for keeping me company for an hour and a half. And I'll see a lot of you tonight. So please. Mwah.